And welcome back to the Life Burst Podcast. We're talking about two card combos. We got a lot of them to talk about. So this is just basically going to be a series of three videos where I'm going to talk about some two card combos that you might have known about. Maybe you missed. Maybe they're cool. Maybe they're great. But they help you in deck building, right? Just understanding that these two card combos exist and that they are something that you can actively seek. They don't necessarily need to be great. They just need to be above average. And I think all of these are above average. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. The first two-card combo that you can play is a really simple one from like the beginning of Wixoss. Ray Lunar Blossom and Ray Empty Blade. This is a set of L-rigs that you can play that basically you can either divide them up as you need to, or you can just throw them out immediately, and you end up in a scenario where you can grow them and all for one little inner, just one single inner. You can draw 3 cards and you can make the opponent discard 3 cards, which can turn the tide of games pretty dramatically. There are, in fact, some decks out there in Japan that are rediscovering this sort of combo right now, and realizing that basically you can snowball after doing this. So if you have a deck that's able to keep the hand size of your opponent low but needs kind of this like floodgate protection or early on disruption, boom, you can do this. A lot of aggro decks actually end up doing this really well, where you can very efficiently strip a guard out of the opponent's hand while simultaneously getting all of your resources back against like these control decks that they have spent a ton of time and effort ripping your hand apart, and just destroy them afterwards. It's not like, it's also very important that this is has 3 discard, right? Because it means it's the amount of enter that they, or the amount of draw they get back if they're running Xeno, which they sometimes aren't. Very few people are running that nowadays, which is strange to me. But sure, if they aren't, you can Xeno check them with this, and you can screw them. If they are, they just come back to the normal amount. But you still drew through cards, which is pretty good. But any other disruption that you have, be it discard or enter burn at that point, sticks. So that's why this card can be really good in that scenario. It also can help if you are playing some kind of deck that, this is what the Japanese basically are using it for right now, is if you're playing some kind of deck that limits what is good on the opponent's turn. Basically, there's this new Nanashi deck that limits like how good level 1s can be, more or less. By using Ray, stripping the hand down to 0 and forcing them to top deck, they end up in a scenario where half their deck might be defunct. So it limits what their top deck good answers are anyways, and that actually can help you out quite a bit in Snowball as well. The next set is Nova Chopper. So Nova Chopper and Mel Present, for example, both of these have abilities that let you take a Signy from your deck or trash or enter or whatever and put, or hand, whatever. There's a bunch of different ones. Donna Glittering as well could be probably thrown on here, that find you Signies and then put those Signies into play for you. However, a lot of them have the ability of the enter abilities do not activate this way. And a lot of people are kind of don't deal with it then, because they're like, well, why would I? There's so many good enter abilities, and I'm playing a lot of my deck of a lot of Signy with enter abilities. Why would I play anything else? And the answer is, well, there's actually really good uses for this type of things. There's still a bunch of good auto abilities that you could be using with these, and that these cards are genuinely pretty okay to throw into your deck regardless, right? Exia is a fantastic example. Exia can still limit what the opponent can do, especially on the attack phase, because there's a lot of on-attack triggers that target, and Exia can basically just ruin someone's day with that kind of stuff. Coella is the flip end of Exia. Coella actually can shut down the things that Exia can't shut down, and is basically her like soul sister in that fact. It shuts down Lancer, it shuts down Assassin, it shuts down the mill effect on Phalaris, it shuts down the it shuts down Double Crush, it shuts down a bunch of different things, right? And then to put it in perspective, there's also some other choices that you could do. Simforce is another great one, right? If you put Simforce out there on an empty field against a aggro deck of weenies, it blocks everything, right? It just goes boop, 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 and just sort of blocks everything earlier game, right? Level 2 and less, let's say, so on turn 2. And that's right when Nova Chopper and Mel Present and Donna Glittering, all these kind of things happen. And you can just really just shroud the game and call it over. Another thing that we did to create it actually effect in the GP is we played Hestia with Donna Glittering. And Hestia has the ability to stop a damage on from a Signy or from an Elrig. So you can kind of put this, let's say there was 2 open lanes, you can kind of put it down in one open lane to block another open lane and then you can go ahead and sacrifice it and stop damage from either an Elrig attack or a Signy attack if there was another open lane. So it's another good one that you can use. A lot of people are very much undervaluating the auto abilities that you can play, and the Elrigs that put stuff out directly actually stronger than you give them credit for, I think. The next one is mill effects and things that like mill. There's not a ton of these in Wixoss right now that I think are fantastic, but there are a couple. I think Corsan is actually a really good one. You guys just got a promo of it recently. I think Corsan's really good because it doesn't target, which means that if you have a deck with mill and you are weak to Exia, which seems to be a lot of black aggro decks, Corsan becomes a very, very, very strong card. Not to mention turning off Remember, turning off Donna Memoria's giant ability, turning on all these like white abilities that are really annoying on your turn. You can turn them all off, and that is very, very strong. And it comes from the low cost of just milling yourself, right? Like, it's like, yes, there are reasons that you can do to mill yourself. There are things that cost enter to mill yourself, but you're not playing those. You're probably just playing something that gives you incidental mill on milling yourself, and that then becomes really cool too. I mean, you could be even playing things like Bernices, which mill on Vanish, and you can actually trigger your own thing. Just say, I'll mill myself, and then trigger this, because, oh no, it's during your turn. Never mind, ignore everything I'm saying. But it's still very strong effect. I kind of quite like it. Another one is Gamgin. Gamgin has this effect where when this is a card to put into a deck from the trash, it's your turn, you may pay black. If you do, target Signy gets negative 3,000 until end of turn. If you're playing a deck that has mill incorporated into its center, I actually am not afraid to put Gamgin in there. I think it's underutilized right now. The ability to be able to just pay black. I wish it was colorless, but play black and give a utility level 1 negative 3,000 is pretty big game. There is a lot of level 3s now, or level 1s that are 3,000 power or less. There wasn't when Gamgin was first printed all the way back in set 2. There is now. So I think Gamgin is worth a relook if you guys haven't. I put Baphomet and Iona on the other side here as enablers, because I know Iona basically just has an action ability of being able to mill yourself on command. Therefore, it's in your center. You always get the ability to mill yourself. Therefore, I think this card is just a free way to enable a lot of mill stuff. And this deck, it would be better if there was more good mill stuff out there. Baphomet's another one, right? Like your deck's never worse for having a Baphomet in it. In fact, it's often better for having a Baphomet in it. So if you have cards like Baphomet that just enable mill, then these cards are worth looking at as well. Another one is one of my favorite from way back in the day, set 1. We have the Gap Bear combo that we used to talk about a lot on the podcast. This deck is actually still very good. It's enter intensive, don't get me wrong, but it does an effect that's kind of unique to Wixoss, which is that No Berry Bets is a Signy, level 1, that says whenever a Signy on the opponent's field attacks, if there's no Signy in front of that Signy, you can move this Signy in front of it. So you get to move it in front of it. Cool. That's not the main ability. The main ability is when the Signy on the field moves to a different Signy zone, you can pay colorless. If you do, swap this Signy and the Signy in your enter zone. Okay? Gap also gives you the ability to, when entering, you can put target white, blue, red, or green level 1 Signy from your trash into the field, right? That's its enter ability. So the cool thing is these play really well with each other. You can play a Gap on your turn, pay an enter, get yourself a No Berry Bets if you have one in your trash, put it into the field, great. Everything's fantastic there. The best part of this is that should Gap die or you have a Gap in your enter, right, which is very possible that you could do that. You can even, by the way, pay the colorless cost to get the No Berry Bets on the field. What ends up happening is you will have an open lane. Oh no, but you have no Berry Bets on the field. Okay, so if they attack in the open lane, right, you put no Berry Bets in front of it, then you swap it out to Gap, then you pay the Gap effect, and you put no Berry Bets from the enter into your trash. Oh, look at that. It's now in the trash. You put it back into the field. You've now filled up your lanes for a fair amount of enter, but it is on Signy, not on assists, and that means you get to save your assists for later. So I'm going to say, hasn't aged super, super well, but it is an effect that you can do and catch opponents off guard with, and I think it's actually pretty strong and unique. There's not a ton of these ways to do this type of stuff with Signy. Another one, this is for my locals. Zai out there can give him a shout out. We have Aya over here, and Aya's ability is you can down it, put target Signy from your enter zone to your field. This card is at its best in a control deck that also uses green. If you're in a control deck that also uses green, this is basically just reads as pay an enter, draw your best card in your enter zone. It's actually a lot stronger than I think people give it credit for. It has a very specific role it needs to play in order for it to be good, but it is good in that role. However, there's an off-case scenario with it as well. If you're playing green-black, then playing Aya and also Anna Mirage, Anna Mirage is just generally a good black card that you can play, is a good wombo combo that you can do. Basically, you play this, down it, pull Anna out of your enter, put it on top of Aya. The way that Rise works is it's technically a new entity, so it's not down, and you're free to do everything else you normally would be. This is a really great way to basically constantly recur a Anna Mirage into the field. Anna Mirage is one of the best black removal, I want to say spell, but black removal things in general. This is, again, one of the reasons why Anna is so great. It's the fact that it's a Signy and not a spell is night and day as to why you use this over stuff like Digger. Moving right along here, we've got Machina. I know, everyone's tired of Machina. Machina Wingslash is probably the best card in Wixoss right now. I know, I am not going to go here and shout to the heavens how great it is. But it enables some other stuff that you might not expect. Some of the best enablers for it is things like Bang Memoria, Monomin, Haniol, Rommel, Fornax, and Ogana. I tried to grab stuff from different colors here. Basically, all of these share one thing with the exception of Hanio and Rommel, which is that you can discard a card to an effect, right? So let's just look at Bang, Monomin, Fornax, and Ogana right now. And these cards have built-in synergy with Machina. Not only can you discard them with Machina, or get them back from your trash to reuse their effects. Bang being enter, Monomin being making the opponent discard a card, Fornax being enter, burn, and Ogana being opening lanes. Not only can you get these values Signy back from your trash and then replay them, you also get the effect of you can discard to them, right? So all of these things require discard. So by getting an extra card back and then having fodder to discard to them, you're fueling them. So not only can you grab the enabler, but you can grab the fuel that goes with it. That's like kind of, I don't know, getting a starter kit package where you've got a starter burner log and also gasoline that you can put on the log so that way you can burn it and matches to go with it. The off ones here are Haniol and Rommel. The reason why I still put them in there is because they're very good value level ones that you can still grab with Machina, and I still think they're quite strong. Plus, they feed into themselves as well. The idea here being, while discard doesn't directly feed into them, enter does. So if you use a level 1 to enter, and then you use that level 1 for their costs, then you can bring that level 1 that you put into the trash back to your hand to refuel your turn or to fill out your lanes or whatever you need to do with Machina Wingslash. So again, this is the main reason. I'm not going to go too into it. This is a combo that I think it has existed in Wixoss and sort of everyone knows is good, but may not know the exact reason as to why it's good. And that's the reason why I like it specifically. Let's talk some more about Umir Clear. Umir Clear is a very, very good card, but I think a lot of people see it and see card draw, whereas I see it and I see mill. This is one of the few ways you can quote-unquote mill your opponent in blue. Not only can you screw their hand with Umir Clear, because it's got this ability of you discard your hand, draws the cards equal to that, your opponent discards their cards and draws one less. You also pair this nicely with any mill effects. Basically what you'll see here on the other side is a bunch of different things that say mill 10. I won't go deep into it, but I will say that in preparation for the GP, I had to do a lot of research into how mill works on my opponent, how to get them significantly always milled, and how to always make sure that I am able to mill my opponent a correct amount for 1 damage in order to help my clock. The magic number is 7, by the way, guys, or 8. It's basically one of those, 7 or 8. You need to mill the opponent 7 or 8 in order to get them to dead. Now, this is not including stuff like if the opponent does any form of enter charge or drawing extra cards, which often happens in a deck. So that number, while being technically 7 or 8, is actually closer to 4 or 5. And that's what Umir Clear can give you. Now, Umir Clear basically looks at an opponent with 5 or 6 cards in hand and says, cool, mill 5 or 4. And that's what Umir does. It's very good supplementary mill on the opponent. So while there's other reasons to use Umir Clear, I mean, the fact that it freezes something is really strong. The fact that it can mess up their hand, destroy their setup, and get rid of guards is also very good. And one of the reasons it top forward in the recent GP. The other thing that's very good about it is that it can mill. And so it's something that people overlook often. All right, moving into our almost done here. We've got Deus III, right? Okay, so I have very few things here to talk about, but you can take the example cards here and change them to anything you'd like them to be. I just thought these are the most clear example cards. Deus III has the ability to grab souls, right? But it also has the ability to give things -2,000 if it's in front of it. All right, so then cool, this is really good. Fuyuki, however, is not great. It is a level 1 that has the enter ability to give something -1,000, which is the bare minimum that you can do on any Signy, period. It probably won't open a lane unless you're looking at a guard. It's not a good card. However, it's good in combination with these. You often see Fuyuki as a one of or more in Deus decks, and the reason why is because -2,000 is not that great either. -1,000 is not that great. Add them together, -3,000 is fantastic. Right? -5,000, -8,000, -12,000. These are your benchmarks that you're looking at, basically. -13,000. You get some of these in black, and you get them for free often in black by adding 2 card effects together. So when you are seeing negative effects, if they're free negative effects and they're small, think about how they can be used together in order to get a good effect. Not always will this be the case, but I'm often looking at stuff like Elrig stuff, so center abilities plus a Signy, right? Fuyuki is a terrible card, but it's an amazing card if it's just a level 1 that opens a lane added to Deus's ability. Then I don't need to waste a Deus Soul, therefore I have more lasting damage that I can do further on in the game. All right, the last one for this this set of cards here that we're going to be talking about is Quinn plus negative effects. So Quinn has an ability that gives negative effects, but more importantly, it has the ability to swap Signies, which is really cool because you can take this and really mess with other things, right? So like I said, during your turn, the Signy in front of your something with a soul with Deus gets -2,000. Nanashi has a similar thing with its what do you call it? With its virus ability. Basically, anything that does a static negative effect on a lane becomes much better to add Quinn to, because if you move a Signy into that lane that you want that effect to happen, it'll either kill it or permanently disfigure it well enough that you can do something else. Maybe move a different Signy afterwards and like sort of machine gun down some Signy that the opponent were putting in wrong lanes specifically to avoid getting machine gunned down. Iona also is a really cool smooth combo that you can do with Quinn. It basically makes it so that Iona will always be able to do its effect of a black vanish target Signy that has different power than its originally listed power. So kind of a cool effect that you can be doing with it. That is the lane switching when it comes to the negative effects. So that's our first take at some 2-card combos. I'm trying to keep these videos short and palatable so that way you guys can enjoy them, sink them in, and think them a little bit more for deck building. We'll see you next time with another 2-card combo list.